And my guest tonight is the frontman of one of the most famous musical dynasties in history. 63 years ago, can you believe it, at the age of just 5, Merrill Osmond and his brothers, Alan, Wayne and Jay, formed a barbershop quartet and performed local shows around their native Utah. From those humble beginnings, the Osmonds grew to become a pop culture phenomenon in the 1970s, picking up younger siblings, Donnie and Jimmy, along the way. As one of the first ever boy bands, they were staples on teenage girls' walls while they hung an incredible 47 platinum records on theirs. Despite their huge female fan base, the Osmonds' famous devotion to the Church of Latter-day Saints meant their squeaky clean image was never jeopardised by debauched behaviour, unlike some of the bands that followed them. In 1975, Merrill helped the family dominate the world of TV as well as the airwaves, serving as an executive producer on Donnie and their sister Marie's hit variety show. That experience served him well when he was charged with producing the inaugural ceremonies for not one, but 2 US presidents, Ronald Reagan and George H. Bush. In total, do you know the Osmonds sold 77 million records worldwide and released 28 albums through a variety of lineups, taking in genres as diverse as bubblegum pop, rock and roll and country music, with Merrill serving as the frontman throughout. In fact, Merrill is still dedicated to keeping the family's music alive with his show An Evening with Merrill Osmond, which tours the UK from September.
Dan, we'll never forget them.
They were. I mean, you guys were groundbreaking in so many ways, weren't you? Because it hadn't really been done before. Obviously, the Jacksons were coming up around the same time, and I guess that they were your contemporaries.
Yeah, well, the Jacksons actually turned down the song One Bad Apple. Really? That's what a lot of people don't know. And so when we were given the song, we said, oh, absolutely. And that became our real first hit. And then,
were you rivals with them or friends?
Oh, yeah, and we're buddies.
Yeah.
I mean, I was with Tito the other day. I mean, but, yeah, Michael and Donnie and all of us were just very, very close to the Jackson family. They're wonderful people. But you know what's interesting, Dan, is that people tried to pigeonhole us in our earlier teenage years, thinking that we were just a teeny bop, squeaky clean type of a thing. And it's okay, you know, they were kicking us and doing all kinds of things in the press. But it wasn't until Paul McCartney came out and said to the press, stop beating up the Osmonds.
Really?
Yeah.
So that was the moment. It was Al Macca.
It's the boss, you know.
Because if Macca says it...
Macca says it, yeah.
It means something.
Yeah, and when he said... And we had never met him. And when he did that, we just wanted to cry because the Beatles, you know. Met him, been friends. He gave me one of his basses, you know. And so when he supported us, and Elvis himself came out and supported us, and many others in the industry, Led Zeppelin invited us to their concert. They invited us up on stage with them. I mean, when you have that kind of support in the industry, all that other stuff didn't matter.
So you think that was a turning point
so.
in terms of you being taken seriously musically?
Yeah, and I also think Crazy Horses itself pushed things quite a bit. I mean, I don't think people even believed it was the Osmonds when Crazy Horses came out.
No.
I mean, the song was banned in like 4 countries. It was banned.
Which actually went totally against your...
I know.
And it is fascinating, isn't it? Because you look at that time, Merrill, and for the Beatles, for the Rolling Stones, for Elvis, you know, it really was sex, drugs, rock and roll.
Yeah.
And of course, your Mormon faith didn't actually even make that possible. It was never on the cards for the Osmonds. Do you think that's what kept you going? Because, of course, so many people did succumb to that lifestyle.
Well, first of all, our religious beliefs created a base. We had great parents. And so our faith and God and family and all of those things that held us together helped us coast through so many issues in the 70s. It was like a bubble, almost. And to get into that bubble with the Osmonds, it was a very difficult thing to do. So yeah, we didn't have to deal with a lot of stuff like that, and knock on wood, we've all maintained a very solid family lifestyle, and despite all the hits on the family issues today, it's neat to be an Osmond today. It really is.
But behind the scenes, it was tough for you as well, because you've been very open about how much you battled with mental health problems and anxiety. And Merrill, that doesn't surprise me at all, because I've tracked so many pop stars who have success at a very young age, from Justin Bieber to Britney Spears, and I think it's almost impossible to come through that roller coaster without suffering some degree of mental health problems. But how difficult was it for you going through that in the 70s? Because it was nothing like what it is now, where those problems are openly discussed.
Yeah, well, it wasn't really discussed.
You just dealt with it?
Yeah, I just dealt with it. I mean, I didn't realize I was a manic depressant until when I about took my life. I mean, here I was coasting through the 70s and had no hope, and my light wasn't there, and I wasn't even diagnosed at that time, and I didn't want to live. I mean, and I had everything in the world going for me until I finally was diagnosed with having massive depression and bipolar tendencies and anxiety. I've gone through it all. I really have. And then on top of that, Dan, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but we had embezzlement scams going on throughout our life, where millions and millions of dollars were lost through embezzlement scams.
People
just scamming us right and left.
So you don't know who you can trust?
No, I mean, here we were raised as little Mormon boys in Utah, and learned to shake a hand and believe what you were shaking was true, and we learned to, our parents were the same way, and so a lot of people took us for a lot of money.
Because there's a lot of scumbags in that industry.
That, plus depression, really could have derailed us. But we held in there together. And, as I look back down, I say, had we made all that money, had we kept it all, I don't think that we would have turned out the way that we've turned out. I mean, money can do weird things to you.
But so can fame.
Absolutely.
And obviously, you had fame at such a young age in a way that's very difficult to comprehend. Do you think, having experienced yourself, we need to look after our child stars better?
I do. I mean, obviously, we were a very unique family. I mean, 5 years old, I was on stage. I mean, our father was a military sergeant, and everything was perfection. I mean, we got up every morning to reveille. Literally, our brother played taps, not taps, but reveille. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know what it was like to have a vacation until COVID.
You're kidding.
No.
In your life?
In my life. I'm serious.
Because you're just so used to working and being on the road, and that's who you are.
Yeah, well, take the Andy Williams days, when we were on the Andy Williams show.
Yeah.
We weren't even invited on unless we came up with something new every week. I mean, so you're talking 8 years of every week, something new and different. Even ice skating. I mean, we had to learn to ice skate in 1 week. So the anxiety, the depression, the nervousness. So, it's a different world today. Different things are attacking kids and the family, but you do have to take care of the little ones because it's a different world, and there's a lot of things attacking us today that are not like what attacked the
No, and I guess now you're opened up on social media and all of that type of thing, which you didn't have to deal with, I guess. So what was it like for you then, COVID and lockdowns around the world, and finally having to stop and maybe take stock for the first time in your life?
Well, that was it. When I had a year off, I went nuts for the first 2-3 months. But then I started to write. I started to read. I started to paint, and I got to know my kids better. And man, I even did a lot of laundry and dishes and stuff you do around the house, But I've really had a pretty good time. None of my kids, except my little daughter, got COVID. The rest of them have been fine. But I've enjoyed it. I really have enjoyed the time off.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. If you can turn something so negative into positive, because obviously the entertainment industry has been battered. You had to delay your tour by a year.
Three times.
3 times.
We had to push it back.
And it does feel, and I've really focused on this on the show, Merrill, because it does feel like the entertainment industry has been forgotten at times by our leaders. It's almost like, well, it's a nice little extra, you know,
Yeah.
but actually there's a lot of people completely out of work.
Well, when I did this stream concert about a few months ago from here, and it was nobody in the audience, and you go dun 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 dun. Okay, next. Go next. You start to realize, man, it's all about.
Yeah, this is not the same.
No,
it's just not the same.
You need it. Everybody needs the feelings and stuff, and it was gone. But we're going to get back to it. It's gonna be okay.
Politically, where are you at in America? Obviously, the Osmonds always connected to the Republican Party. I don't know if it was a formal thing, but of course you were involved in those two inauguration ceremonies for Reagan and Bush, which I imagine must have been highlights of your career.
Yeah, I mean, President Reagan asked me to make sure that the Mormon Tabernacle Choir got there to sing the Battle Hymn of the Republic, you know, and so I had his private phone right into his bathroom. I mean, he and I were, you know, on a one-to-one. Politically, I'm a very conservative person. I look at the world maybe a little different than a lot of people do. I think we are living in a time that was prophesied politically, I mean, biblically. And I think we're seeing a lot of very interesting maneuvering going on. And I just think the family is under attack. Liberties are having a problem. So I don't know. I'm a very conservative guy. I love America. I love red, white, and blue. I'm a patriotic kind of a guy. I write songs that are patriotic, and I just love people, and I just don't want to see our freedoms pushed away.
I know. Well, it's happening here too.
Yeah,
it's so disturbing what's happening on that front.
I know.
And actually, I mean, Donald Trump, who by the way, very popular amongst Mormons. The most one of his most popular base groups are the Mormons, which maybe surprised some people because Donald Trump didn't exactly have a straightforward personal life, Merrill, before becoming president.
That's right.
But do you think people misjudged him because there were certain things that now you look back and you actually think, well, look, if it was about China, for example, Trump was actually right.
Yeah, I mean, amen to all that. First of all, I was never a real fan of how he spoke. You know, his commentaries and so forth, just back it off, you know, back down. But if you look at what he was about and what, like you say, what he stood for and what he tried to get across to everybody, I really supported it. And I still support it.
So maybe he let himself down.
I think
some
he
of
did.
That rhetoric.
I think he did. And I don't know what he's politically thinking of doing. I know him.
What's he like?
He's a really nice guy. I mean, I don't see him the way you see him on TV. He's a very nice guy. He communicates well, but the way he communicated, you know, through America, was a very, very strange Donald Trump. And I think that's what you know got him in problems. Is how he communicated.
But I guess he felt like the entire media and establishment was against him.
Oh yeah,
which they were.
They were. I mean, everywhere he ever went, of course, with his group, you've never heard such cheering and excitement. But he also went places where that didn't happen too.
Indeed.
But we'll see what happens. I don't know. I just like the conservative plan that he had. That's where I'm on it.
Look, we've got loads of questions coming in from our viewers, Merrill, so I need to get to them now. This is a very good one from Greg on Twitter, who asks, do you think the Osmonds' religion was ever a barrier to your careers?
No, not at all. I mean, maybe some would perceive that because of the way we lived our lives and no alcohol, sex, drugs, all that kind of stuff. But we were happy, and we still are happy because we coasted through a lot of those problems. It was because of our faith. It's because of our religious beliefs. We love God and family, and all of that was important to us. But so no, not when you have people like McCartney's and the people in the industry come out and support you and say, why are you talking about that when you should be talking about what they stand for? And they stand for good things, you know. So no.
Debbie on the GB News Twitter account asked, did you serve as a missionary when you were younger, and if so, where?
No, I never served as a missionary per se. I mean, our family, if you look at it, for the last 60-something years, in our own way, maybe has served a mission. Hopefully a mission that's good, light, and family-oriented. So, no, I never served a personal one, but I think I served one with my family.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. Close to home, Alison via GB News asks, what do you like about London? Because, of course, you spend a lot of time here.
London is our second home. Are you kidding me? This is where we grew up. This is where all the, McCartney, again, I'll go back to him. He says, you guys didn't experience hysteria. You experienced mania. And it was here where it all happened.
Really? So it was bigger here than in the States?
It was big there. It was big a lot all over the world. But here, it was amazing.
You felt it stronger.
I got to tell you a quick story. So when the military went in to get Saddam Hussein,
yeah,
it's a really strange story. They went into one of his bunkers underneath his house, and you know what they found in there?
Don't.
A series of Osmond albums.
Really? What did you make of that?
Well, when we heard that again, you just never know what people are looking at or what they're hearing. But when that happened, we freaked out, So I don't know if that's a good story or a bad one.
Yeah,
for some reason that popped into my head.
No, it's a good story. It's definitely a good story. Just don't know whether it's a positive thing or not.
I know.
On that note, Panda K asks, what is your favourite Osmonds song that you ever recorded?
Well, I think probably Let Me In. That's a song we wrote years ago. And when we sing that song in concert, everybody just roars back. They sing it for you. In fact, I stopped singing it because the volume of people singing it back to me is almost emotional. So I'd probably say that. And I Love Me For a Reason. I sang that too.
Oh, I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a good
song. You
song.
have to love that song. And look, finally, in this part, Louise, via the GB News Twitter account, and I think you've answered half of this, but she asked, did you write any songs during lockdown? But maybe this is the more critical question. Will you record them? Because you have said you wrote lots.
Yeah, I've written quite a few, and yes, I will record them. And I intend to do that. I haven't done it yet, but that's on my agenda.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.